1 week after Turning Pro update, and a shift that happened leading up to Turning Pro. Welcome back to another Flower Simplicity. So it's been a week since the Epiphany video, and I did end up buying the Turning Pro book, and I read it cover to cover, and it's an amazing short book, very concise, and really talks about being the pro as opposed to the amateur, and I highly recommend it. Again, Turning Pro by Steven Pressfield. One of the things that happened during that week, I had in my mind, okay, I'm a pro. If I'm a pro, what are some of the things that I want to do as a pro? And one of the things that popped up was at a meal with a friend, and he brought out this t-shirt that he had bought, and it was like a cartoon picture of an egg and some bacon. And I looked at it, and when I see t-shirts that are made that people are getting out there, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'll swear it. You swear. It's a swear. It's like I could do that. I could do that. But those words of just I could do that, they can go on forever, right? So what I decided to do, I said, I'm going to design a t-shirt, because I was at that point. And so I brought out my own style again, my own Yoshi style, did a t-shirt. It's up in my Society 6/Art of Yoshi page. And then what I want to do is I want to design a t-shirt every week. So we're going to have t-shirt Wednesdays, and you'll be able to see these t-shirt designs coming out. And what that is linked to is basically, if I don't do a drawing within a week, I get this grumpiness, but it's more of a contrast between who I am physically and what I'm doing and what my spirit knows I want to do and I'm capable of, and the distance between the two. So what the t-shirt Wednesdays is going to allow me to do is actually express those gifts at the same time. Another thing I wanted to update was basically a shift that had happened leading up to the Turning Pro shift. A few shifts have happened up to that point, and I want to describe a few of them. I'm not going to put them all into one video. The one shift that I had was I visited Seattle, Washington, and one of my main goals when I was there was to visit Bruce Lee's grave. Been a major fan of Bruce Lee, following his martial arts, his philosophy, his films, etc. since I was a young kid. And I said, if I'm that close, I have to go visit his grave. Got into a cab. The cab driver knew exactly where it was, and he got me there like in 9 minutes. As we were getting close to the cemetery, I didn't know how close we were. I just felt it in my heart. This just huge warmth came over as I was looking at the neighborhood, and I just thought, oh my God, we're close. We're really close. And then we got to the cemetery, and I just felt it's like, wow, it's that whole essence of, wow, I'm actually there, and this is actually happening. Reality is shifting. I didn't know what it was going to be like when I actually saw the gravesite, but there's this little bush beside the Bruce's gravestone and his son Brandon's gravestone. So a little bush, and so I was feeling the whole feeling as I was walking up to that bush. And then when I walked around that corner and then I saw the grave sites there, it was just like a shift immediately happened there, because it's interesting with this one, because I knew what the grave was going to look like, because I had seen it in pictures and magazines and documentaries, etc. So I knew exactly what it was like. But to see it with my own eyes, astounding. The funniest phrase came out of my mouth at that time, or in my head. It was, oh my God, you were real. You were a real human being. And as funny as that sounds, when I saw that grave and I knelt beside it, did a little prayer beside it, it was just like, wow, Bruce Lee was real. And it sounds funny, but I had only seen him in all different types of media. So in many ways, he could have just been a fabricated character. And nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying that when I saw the reality of that he was a human being, what it triggered in me was, wow, you were a human being. You had the same number of hours in a day, same amount of potential, and same amount of access to literature, etc. Maybe even today, in comparison to when he was studying, we have more access to ridiculous amounts of information right now. But he was able to change martial arts and influence so much of his philosophies into inspiring people around the world. And to this day, he still inspires people. Like it's amazing. And he passed away at 32. Like just to know you could pack all that into your life and shift so much. And it was one of those ones where it's just like, I knew something had happened and I knew I was going to take that with me. I had embodied that. It's interesting that that happened like leading up to the Turning Pro insight and epiphany that I got, because it all makes sense of how it adds up to there. I had an experience like that in a different way before, where many of you who know me, I was a Star Wars nut a long time ago, collected so much stuff, had tons of stuff of it, but went down to ILM one time and I had seen the Yoda puppet inside of a glass box. And at that time, it did something opposite to me. It basically said, I looked at Yoda and I was just like, oh my God, you weren't real. And it did a number on me. Shortly after episode 1 came out and I didn't really align with it, I sold all my Star Wars stuff. Like I probably only have like a handful of things left. But it was interesting. That's like, oh my God, you weren't real. But his wisdom came through. So maybe that's the comparison of something being fabricated that can look real. But when you find out, oh my God, you were just a puppet, but I believed you were real. So in essence, that's all that matters. What's the wisdom that's coming through, right? Whether it's a real person or an inanimate object, the wisdom that comes through from the people operating that puppet is still a human being. So more updates to come. I hope you're trying the whole Turning Pro as well in your life. Let's keep moving forward, because I love the momentum and I love the energy of it. So we'll see you in the next video. As always, joy, light, and love. Thank you for tuning in. Namaste. Fact, just to interject here, it's interesting that July 20th is actually the 40th anniversary of Bruce Lee's passing. So the timing of all this is really interesting, that this is the day that it ended up coming out for this video about my visit to Bruce Lee's grave.